Welcome to another deep dive with us. This time we're taking a look at some stuff you sent in, and it's about this big question. Can people really change?
Hmm.
It's something I bet we've all thought about, right? I know I have. And to help us get into it, we're going to be looking at these two, almost opposite ideas. Etiology, that's all about cause and effect, and then there's teleology, which is more about, like, our purpose.
Yeah.
And to help us wrap our heads around all this psychology stuff, we've got, our expert here.
Happy to be here, ready to dig in.
Okay, so to start, you sent in this story about a friend who, he can't leave his room. It's tough, right? He wants to change, but he feels stuck.
Yeah.
So where do we even begin to, understand something like that?
Well, I think it's natural to look for causes, right? Like in his past, maybe a tough childhood, some sort of trauma, something that might explain why he's stuck.
Right.
And that's where this etiology idea comes in. Like we want to connect the dots back in time, find the root of it all.
Makes sense. It's like being a detective almost.
Mm-hmm.
Find that cause and maybe you find the way out. But there's this bit in the stuff you sent that throws a wrench in things. Asks, what if every trauma led to this? Like, wouldn't we see it all the time then? It's like, maybe there's more to it.
Right, and that's where this other idea, this teleology, gives us a totally different view. So instead of just what happened back then, it says maybe we act in ways that kind of fulfill what we want right now, even if we don't realize it.
Hold on. Are you saying he's like choosing to stay in there? That seems, a bit harsh.
Oh, no, not at all. It's not about blame. What he's feeling is real, for sure. But what if those feelings are doing something for him? Like maybe it's avoiding all that social stuff, all that, discomfort. Maybe it's about having control when the world feels too much. Like all of that's happening without him even, realizing it.
So it's not that he wants to be afraid. It's that the fear itself is like doing a job for him. Can you give us an example? Like something we all do so this makes more sense.
Sure. Think about procrastination. You got that big project and you just can't seem to, to start it. We call it being lazy, but maybe it's actually about not doing something that makes us feel, anxious or like we're not good enough.
Oh, man, I think we've all been there. Suddenly cleaning the whole kitchen sounds way better than like that report that's due.
Right. Exactly. And when you see that underlying goal that it's about avoiding the bad feeling, you understand things differently. And maybe, just maybe, you can start to do something about it.
Interesting. But let's get back to, to the friend, to this whole idea of changing.
Yeah.
This is where it gets really interesting. Because if this teleology thing is true, then does it mean we've got more power to change than we think?
That's the question, isn't it? And it's something we're going to really explore as we go deeper into all this. It's not like, teleology just wipes away the past. But it does say that our choices, what we're aiming for right now, they play a huge part in making our lives what they are. It's all about, we have the power to act, agency.
Yeah. So we're not pretending bad stuff didn't happen.
Yeah.
But if we're making our own lives, even if we don't realize it, like with these goals, then that means we can change those goals, right?
Yeah.
And change things.
It's not as easy as like flipping a switch, but
Yeah.
it does point to something pretty powerful. If we can figure out those goals we don't even know we have, well, then we can start making different choices.
But how do we even know what those hidden goals are? I mean, they're hidden for a reason, right?
This is where it gets interesting. We got to get curious about what's going on inside us, paying attention to those little feelings we usually just ignore. Like you said, that relief when you choose the cleaning instead of the work stuff. That relief, that's a clue.
So we become like detectives of our own minds. Instead of just looking at what's happening out there, we got to look at the patterns in our thoughts, our feelings, all of it.
Exactly. And what you might find is that those hidden goals, they might hold you back, but they're also trying to protect you. They come from deep down beliefs about you, about the world. Things you probably learned from what happened before,
So, like someone who's been hurt in relationships, they might, without even realizing it, they might avoid getting close to people because they don't want to get hurt again, even if, logically they know that's not what they want.
Exactly. But here's the good part. Once you see those patterns, you can start to ask yourself, are these old beliefs still working for me? Are there better ways, healthier ways to get what I need?
It's like we're not just reacting to our past anymore. We're taking control of right now. And that changes our future, too. But
Yeah.
well, let's think about your friend again for a minute. With this teleology idea, what would be, like, the first step to help him change?
First step's always understanding what needs are being met by him staying in his room, what fears, what beliefs are being like made stronger by doing that. It's all about helping him look inside without judgment.
I bet that takes a lot of, well, empathy, right? Because it'd be easy to judge someone in that situation. But if you get that his actions are, like, serving a purpose, even if it's not a good one, you can be kinder, right?
Exactly. It's about making it safe for him to understand himself. Then he can look at those hidden goals and ask himself, are these beliefs still good for me? Are there other ways to get my needs met?
Sounds like it takes patience. It's not about forcing change overnight.
It's more like, gently helping a plant grow towards the sun. Small steps,
Mm.
but you got to keep taking them.
So instead of pushing him to leave the house, you might start with smaller things, like opening a window, maybe stepping out on a balcony. Every little bit builds confidence.
And when he sees he can do those smaller things, well, how he sees himself, that changes too. He might start to believe, hey, maybe I can face things. Maybe I can go outside my comfort zone. Someone who can change.
What's really, really powerful for me in all this, it's not just about your friend anymore, right? It's maybe about all of us and the things we struggle with. It's not about blaming the past, but seeing how we have this power to make different choices right now.
And that can be a huge relief. It reminds us that we're not just made by our past, but we're making our future.
This whole teleology thing, it really makes you think about, like, taking responsibility for yourself. It's not about, feeling bad about the past, but it's about seeing how those things that happen, how they might be making you, make the choices you make now.
And the cool thing is, once you see those patterns, you can choose something different. It's not about wiping the past away. It's like writing a new story from here on out.
Yeah, that could be pretty amazing to have that control. But I guess it could also feel, I don't know, a little scary, maybe. Like, if I'm not happy with something, I can't just blame what happened before.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, okay, now I got to actually do something.
There's definitely, a sense of responsibility that comes with all this. But that's also where the good stuff happens, I think, because when you realize you can choose, you realize you can change things.
So it's not about, like, waiting for life to happen. It's about making your own life, But for someone who's been stuck doing the same thing for years, where do they start?
The big thing is to remember, change takes time. It's not like this huge overnight thing. It's about those small steps, remember, like we were talking about.
Yeah, like with your friend. We wouldn't expect him to just, like, suddenly love going to a party with tons of people. But maybe he could start by, I don't know, being in a different room of his house.
Exactly. It's about, setting goals that make sense, breaking them down into tiny bits, and then celebrating when you do those tiny bits.
It's kind of like training for a marathon, You don't just, like, one day get up and run 26 miles. You start small, you build up, and then eventually you can do something you never thought you could.
Perfect example. And I think that shows something else about change that's super important. You gotta have support. Just like a runner needs someone to train with, or a coach. Having people who believe in you, who cheer you on, that makes a huge difference.
Yeah, whether it's, a therapist or a friend, family, even people online, that feeling that you're connected, that someone's got your back, it helps you keep going when things get tough. It's like having your own personal cheer squad for growing as a person.
For sure. And sometimes just knowing someone else thinks you can change, that can be enough to give you the guts to take that next step.
So to put it all together, we've been really digging into these two ideas. Etiology, which is all about the past, and teleology, which looks at what we're aiming for right now. And, they both tell us something useful, but what I'm taking away from this is, it's hope. Like, yeah, maybe my past made me who I am in some ways, but I'm not stuck there. I can change.
And I think that's a really powerful thing for everyone to remember. If what we're trying to do, even if we don't realize it, if that's making our lives what they are, then we'll just imagine what could happen if we see those goals and start choosing things that really, truly match who we want to be.
That's a great question to leave everyone with. And we want to thank you for sending in this stuff that really got us thinking. We hope you found this deep dive, as interesting as we did. Until next time.